I'm delighted to announce this afternoon that the United States will be taking a small portion of the hundreds of billions of dollars we receive in tariffs. We are making a lot of money from countries that took advantage of us for years. They took advantage of us like nobody's ever seen. Our deficits are way down because of tariffs. I guess because of the election, because without the election, you wouldn't have tariffs. You'd be sitting here losing your shirt. But we're taking in billions. We're really taking in trillions of dollars, if you think about it, Scott, because the real numbers, when you think of all the money being poured into the country for new auto plants and all of the other things, AI. So what we're doing is we're taking a relatively small portion of that, and we're going to be giving and providing it to the farmers in economic assistance. And we love our farmers, and as you know, the farmers like me because based on voting trends, you could call it voting trends or anything else, but they're great people. They're the backbone of our country. So we're going to use that money to provide $12 billion in economic assistance to American farmers. $12 billion is a lot of money, Merrill. What do you think? Peanuts for you, though, right?
All right, so that's amazing. President Trump just dropped a bombshell announcement saying that the farmers are going to get $12 billion in relief, not from taxpayers, but from tariffs. Now, for months, the economic experts, those people that come on TDSBC, CNN, and then they rattle off fictitious numbers claiming that President Trump is going to destroy the economy. Well, I guess the economy is well and truly destroyed if President Trump can reach into a war chest that has been built up based on tariffs that they fought him on every step of the way. And I think they're still trying to drag him back through the courts to get him to stop issuing tariffs, saying that it is an overreach of his presidential powers. But I don't think the farmers think so, because now they're going to get a windfall of $12 billion in relief in order to help their business of farming and producing food for the country. All right. So essentially, this is a great announcement. And it is also clear that everything that Trump said on the campaign trail about tariffs, at least most of it is right. Now, there are people who say that it's risky to use tariffs, but the farmers don't think so. They are getting $12 billion in relief from tariffs. Now, people have also said about the economy, well, the economy isn't where it's supposed to be. Some of the numbers aren't where they should be. But Dave Ramsey, someone that I've listened to for a while, was on Fox News earlier. And here's what he had to say about the economy.
Rates are down, and gas prices are down below $3 in most places. The economy seems to be, the people we're talking to are really not having huge, serious affordability problems. There's a lot of talking heads, a lot of squawking about that, but most of that's political.
So now, do you agree with Dave Ramsey that most of the gymnastics that we see on TDSBC and CNN, where they try to make it seem like the economy is failing? I saw a video by Mark Kelly over the weekend claiming that the economy is failing. People can't afford groceries. Well, that was under Joe Biden. Where was Mark Kelly when all of that was happening under Joe Biden? And he was conveniently silent about the catastrophic economy that Joe Biden created. So essentially, Dave Ramsey is putting out the news that the numbers are going up. Affordability is trending upwards. It's not where it's supposed to be, but it's heading there because gas prices are low. And then the price of groceries seem to be trending downwards. Right. So let me know in the chat what you think. Okay. Remember, this show is all about you coming for the commentary and staying for the conversation. So leave your comments in the chat. Now, I'm jumping straight into the chat. Canary King is in the chat first, as usual. Greetings, Canary King. Now, we're watching a groundbreaking announcement, and President Trump essentially did this during his first term. He said, "Here's what I did for the farmers in the first term," and all of it came from tariffs. It came from me tariffing the Chinese. We made them pay, and the farmers, got a lot of support as a result of the tariffs. However, whenever it comes to a Democrat in office, all they want to do is tax you more. They're like, we need more tax. We need to support the farmers. Well, we're going to have to tax you. Okay. And then whenever someone like President Trump says, look, we don't have to tax people. All we have to do is do this other thing. Do you know what they start accusing President Trump of doing? They say that he's trying to give tax cuts and deals to his billionaire friends. Have the Democrats ever lowered taxes? Let me know in the comment section. Canary King says, oh dear, dollars for farmers. When can we get manufacturing back? That's part of manufacturing. They are manufacturing food. It's one step. It is one step. And besides that, I don't think we can build some of these factories overnight or resuscitate these factories overnight. I don't think it's possible. I wish it were possible. I wish you could essentially sign an executive order today and have a bunch of operational factories open tomorrow. But that isn't exactly how it works. Canary King says, farming is great, but can we, again, the same sentiment. Look, maybe one day we're going to hear some big announcements. I know that a few weeks back, President Trump announced something about manufacturing, about some of the deals that he has signed of companies that were coming back into the U.S. to start manufacturing. So I think we're going to start hearing some announcements soon. Okay, so that I'm optimistic. All right, I am not in these private meetings, but I think President Trump should have some good news in manufacturing very soon. Now, Democrats yet again are complaining about narco-terrorists being stopped before they bring in the weapons of mass destruction into the United States. Kristen Walker from NBC was silenced after getting an unexpected answer to a question. So she basically thought that she was going to have a gotcha moment with Senator Tom Cotton. You know how they ask these questions and they're like, okay, damned if you do, damned if you don't. I think these days, conservatives and some Republicans actually don't care how politically correct the answer is or is not.
But are you comfortable having the United States target a boat in which you have not seen evidence that it's actually heading to the United States, that it's an imminent threat?
Any boat loaded with drugs that is crewed by associates and members of foreign terrorist organizations that are trying to kill American kids, I think is a valid target. I'm not just comfortable with it. I want to continue it.
I wanted to continue. That's what he said. Look, Kristen Walker maybe was expecting him to backtrack and give a politically correct answer, like we need to figure out, who's crewing these boats, how many kids they have, do they have a dog or a goldfish? But these people are bringing in drugs that are responsible for killing hundreds of thousands of American kids. So they continue to push this narrative. And whenever you think that these people have some common sense and shame, that they're going to reverse course and start having real conversations with the American people, they continue to put out these kinds of hit pieces, trying to make it look like Pete Hegseth is a war criminal and that he essentially is murdering people who are who are out fishing. All right, you're going out fishing with a 4-engine boat in the middle of the ocean. Okay, so I mean that's a very interesting picture out there. Now, here's what Democrats want you to believe. Okay, because they're like, okay, President Trump protecting America from weapons of mass destruction, the fentanyl that's being shipped to the United States, is going to start World War III.
What are you thinking? What's going through your mind?
This is the forever war on steroids, right? This is the worst case scenario of Donald Trump with no guardrails. I mean, he's not providing rationales to anyone, and he's continuing to avoid Congress. Usually you have an Oval Office address, you talk to Congress, you at least explain why you're going to put our military in harm's way. He's not doing that, and you've got this rise of a whole new generation of chicken hawks that are fine to, think this is some kind of video game or a drone strike when real men and women are in harm's way. And that should be maybe the most effective point for Republicans especially. 2025 is so screwed up that Rand Paul is now the voice of reason, but he's right. And we require a rationale. The Constitution requires it. Even though they haven't had a declaration of war since World War II, it's still supposed to work that way.
Right, and I want to pick up, Tom, on Helene's point about the possibility.
All right, so here they are talking about a declaration of war not being done since World War II. However, they have Democrat presidents who have engaged in hostile actions against foreign nationals who mean harm to American citizens. All right. You have George W. Bush, George H.W. Bush. You have Barack Obama, even though his drone strikes were suspect because they were American citizens who were killed by these strikes. You have even Joe Biden had drone strikes that were taking place. Where was the outrage from TDSBC when that was going on? All right, so all of this is just political posturing, political correctness, and essentially it's all about Trump. All right, Trump this, Trump that, Trump everywhere. Trump is going to start World War III, but nobody's talking about the 200,000 American citizens who were killed last year from fentanyl overdose last year alone. No one, not this joker who's throwing around insults about well-trained professional military personnel who are doing their job. They are not cowards. It's like they're putting American citizens in the American soldiers in harm's way. That's what they train for. Okay, I don't mean to be flippant by saying that, but that's what they train for. They train to be able to put themselves in harm's way to protect enemies of the United States, foreign and domestic. That's the job. All right. If your job is to sit in an air-conditioned room with people who hate Donald Trump and say all kinds of rubbish in order to look good and to be asked back to be part of a panel where they hate on Trump and conservatives some more, all right, be my guest. However, the word on the streets is the amount of fentanyl that's reaching the United States is reduced. All right. Now, let's take a look at the chat because, remember, we're having conversations. So don't forget to put your thoughts in the chat. And remember, if all you do is put an emoji up, if all you do is just say, I agree with an emoji or disagree with an emoji, all right, it's fine. And if you're watching and you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing to the channel. Hit the bell icon so that when we go live, you're notified when we do go live. And like the video, you use that thumbs up button on the video to let YouTube know that you're enjoying the content and that YouTube should let people like you who like content like this know about this video. That's how that works. Okay. Now, and also please share this video with your family and friends. Okay. Let's see. Canary King says, can't wait for manufacturing to kick off again. In the meantime, I hope those guys around Trump don't distract him. I hope so too. We had that debacle from his first term. So let's hope that we don't have any distractions during the second term. Canary King says, not sure this boat or canoe is a good way for Trump to spend his valuable time. Let's get him back to one, rebuilding manufacturing, managing the China threat, and rebuilding infrastructure. But it's been said that the fentanyl comes from China. It comes from China. China supplies these guys in Venezuela. They lace the drugs with fentanyl, and then they ship it over to the United States. Okay, so that is also part of the agenda. And I think, like I keep saying, the Trump administration can walk and chew gum at the same time. President Trump isn't the one doing everything. He isn't running across the Gulf of America, sending drones and then running all the way to the other end and signing paperwork for money to be released from the tariff windfall to the farmers. No, he's delegating, and I think I don't think that any of the other things that you want done have been delayed. Now, Democrats continue to do the same thing over and over again. They don't have a message that makes sense for the American people. All they do is operate in hate. All right. You have the Democrats right now still posturing themselves to protect illegal immigrants, people who are not meant to be in the country because they either broke into the country illegally, all right, and most of them have committed crimes. And you have Democrat mayors like Jacob Frey of Minneapolis. Okay, Minneapolis has been in the news, not for good reasons. And here he is again, saying that he is going to ensure that his officers do not coordinate with any federal agency. He is going to do his very best to resist ICE enforcement. Okay, so let's listen.
The approach that the Trump administration is taking presently in Minneapolis seems to be scattered and chaotic at best. Certainly, it is terrorizing to the people and the communities that they are going after. And the message that we are sending to our Somali community, to our Latino community, to any community that is being targeted, is that we stand with you. Minneapolis is not backing down. Our police officers will not coordinate with any federal agency that is doing immigration law enforcement work. We stand with the community members that make Minneapolis the extraordinary place that it is, and we aren't backing down. We're rock solid in support of them.
So, I have said many times, every time we talk about ICE enforcement, and we run into these videos where ICE is enforcing the law, but it seems chaotic. It's chaotic, just like he said, because of what he just owned up to. Blue cities and mayors of blue cities, governors of blue states, tell their police force, don't work with federal agencies. That's why it's chaotic. They refuse to coordinate with federal agencies. And so federal agencies, most of whom are not from those areas, essentially have to wing it to figure out how to do the job. Usually they collaborate with local assets in order to find these people, police the area properly, and then enforce the immigration laws by detaining these people and then getting them to a detention center for processing. That's the way it works. But here he is saying what I've said for a long time. Mayors from blue cities have said again and again that they won't cooperate with ICE. And when they don't cooperate with ICE, ICE has to come in with the National Guard and Border Patrol to essentially protect them while they do the job. So here they are again doing exactly what we've said they keep doing. And then when something goes wrong because they don't coordinate with ICE, they blame ICE. They say ICE is the problem, President Trump is the problem. However, they are the problem for not providing the support and cover that they should be providing for federal agents. Now, here's this very hilarious story, okay? Democrat Representative Adelita Grijalva was lying, okay? She got up and lied and said, while I was out protesting with my constituents, ICE agents pepper sprayed me. I was pepper sprayed and abused. We're going to watch her account, okay, because she's going to first of all go to TDSBC and whine about being told to screw off. But then she goes on social media and then accuses ICE of pepper spraying her. Okay, so let's watch the drama. Because Democrats have essentially become actors. Like they act a role in order to garner pity. They're just pity farming at this point. That's their strategy. Pity farm, Trump bad. That's their strategy. Nothing concrete for their constituents or for the people who voted them in.
First of all, it's great to see you. I'm happy to see that you're okay. How are you? How are your staff doing?
I think we're all okay. It was really scary, very jarring.
Really?
It's one thing to hear about these things happening in communities. It's another thing to have it happen directly to you. I really did go, with the assumption that I'm just trying to understand what's happening. And so I went up, I introduced myself, I let them know who I was. One agent said, "I don't care who you are. You need to get out of the way." We were pushed, we were shot at. And it's really scary. It was very frightening and very jarring.
All right, so we're going to watch the video of her essentially obstructing the enforcement of federal law. Because when you come in this manner, like she didn't go in an oversight capacity. She went with protesters. All right. And at some point, the protest became a riot because the people who were so-called protesters began to throw stones, bricks, and projectiles at ICE agents. And then they had to be tear gassed in order to disperse the crowd. These people sound like they were just there minding their own business, being nice, law-abiding Americans. And then suddenly ICE, the evil ICE, just pulled up their tear gas canisters and tear gassed and pepper sprayed everyone randomly. That's how they want you to think that happened. But that's not what happened. They essentially accosted the ICE agents in the middle of their duties, tried to obstruct them from doing their job, and then people began to throw stuff. So let's watch this video.
Watch out, watch out. Back up. Hey, put it down. Back up. Put it down.
Yeah. So she looks scared.
You're a city member of Congress.
You need to calm down. You guys need to calm down and get out. You need to get out.
Now, she's being told by these professional ICE agents, you need to get out of the way. We're doing our job. And then she insists on standing in the way of these people doing their jobs. It's like going to a construction site where something is being built, and then they basically put themselves in harm's way in front of dozers and earth-moving equipment and everything, and then they get injured, and then they blame the construction workers for them getting hurt. This is a rough job that these guys are doing. And them being there puts the ICE agents in harm's way because now they have to deal with these crazy people getting in their way. So now they have to do both crowd control and catching the illegal aliens. Now, let me know what you think in the chat. I mean, like this has been going on and on and on. And sometimes I feel like the news wants us to be numb to all of these stories. They want us to see these stories so much that we get numb to what they're trying to do. They're trying to essentially keep the messaging going to their base that ICE is evil. ICE pepper sprays people randomly. They identify themselves as congressmen or representatives, and yet ICE has no respect for them. They are the Gestapo. But think about it. If you were out there doing a dangerous job and you have this nagging, and I'm going to use the word nagging intentionally because these people, they are attention farming, they are pity farming. These nagging people just coming there, and they're distracting you from doing your job. This is a dangerous job. People that they go out there to arrest don't want to leave. They don't want to leave. They want to stay in the United States, and who can blame them? And some of them will do anything to remain in the United States. And a handful of them have been known to be violent. You don't need somebody distracting you from doing your job that's already dangerous as it is. And then they get hurt, you get hurt. Possibly the immigrant gets hurt. We know about the incident where someone decided to shoot at immigrants in an ICE vehicle. The ICE agents weren't hurt, but 2 of them got hurt. So we need to, call them out whenever they, do this foolishness. All right. So she sent out this tweet. ICE just conducted a raid by Taco Giro in Tucson, a small mom and pop restaurant that has served our community for years, but they hired undocumented illegal aliens. You guys keep mulling about these people who have been working under the table jobs for years, taking work away from American citizens. Look, guys, I understand. Okay. But when federal law is broken and is being enforced, it's not the time to have these people use these undocumented, or let's use the proper term, the proper constitutional term, illegal aliens. Okay, it's not time to begin to use them as tools, political tools. They accuse Republicans of using situations as political tools, but they've been using Border Patrol and ICE enforcement as a political tool for the last 11 months. They've done that, and they've had a lot of help from CNN, TDSBC, ABC, and NBC. All of them have essentially promoted this insanity for the last 11 months. All right. And believe me, it's only getting started. There were over 10 million illegal aliens who broke into the country during Biden's 4 years. So far, we've heard that 2 million have self-deported. There's a lot more left. There's a lot more work left to be done. All right. And then finally, now, when we talk about these riots, here's ABC trying to tell us, trying to water down the situation. But you see members of the community who have been activated to attack ICE agents while they do their job. So now you don't have to worry about enforcing federal law. You have regular citizens who have been told by mayors, by state representatives, by activists, by influencers that they should stop ICE. They have been given the green light to attack federal agents, and it's okay to do so. And then when you have them arrest these people, they take photos or videos of them out of context, claiming here's Trump's ICE arresting American citizens. That's the play. Now let's watch this, and then remember, give me your reactions in the chat.
This is really the first we've seen of these federal agents in recent weeks since much of Border Patrol left the area. Now, things are calm out here in this neighborhood in Elgin, but it was certainly tense between protesters and federal agents. At some points, we even saw clouds of tear gas taking over this area. You could see in the video, crowd there with canisters of tear gas being deployed.
Oh, well, he's talking about the clouds of tear gas, and conveniently leaves out the fact that someone threw a projectile. Okay, so if you watch the video, you will see a projectile sailing across the air.
There with canisters of tear gas.
Here, there you see it. You see this projectile over here. I don't know if you can see my cursor. You can't. There's a projectile sailing through the air towards the ICE vehicle.
And even
boom,
some children
there it is.
Were in the crowd when that happened. Now,
so why would you bring children to a riot? It's for optics. These people are evil people. They bring their kids to a riot, and then the news claims that ICE is bringing violence into these communities. And oh, look, they're kids. There were kids. Look, guys, I've had enough of these jokers. All right, I don't know about you, but whenever I watch the news and I see reports like this that are just untruthful, they aren't telling the truth. They tell a half truth, trying to make it look like these people who are patriots doing the job in order to protect the republic are now being okay. Well, we heard people like Governor Tim Walz calling them the Gestapo. So let's keep listening.
Elgin Police tells us this actually all started this morning around 9, as they say a federal agent called the department to report that they were involved in a traffic crash.
You can see them
while
throwing
conducting
stuff.
Immigration enforcement near West Highland Avenue. Now, police say the agents reported that a person fled that area, ended up here near Maple Lane. Elgin Police says shortly after that, several residents called.
Is that a child, or is that a woman? She looks like it looks like a small woman. It looks like a small. These people just go out there, aggravate the situation. They want to make it look like ICE is attacking innocent American citizens. But they're the ones who initiate the attacks. They are the ones throwing projectiles at ICE and making them, essentially, based on their training, use tear gas and pepper spray.
Agents being in the area stating that they had a warrant. There was also reports of shots fired on this block. Elgin Police determined that was not the case. They did determine that federal agents dispersed chemical agents, and local police had to provide medical treatment to those who were exposed to it before they left the area. Now, it's not clear if federal agents actually detained anyone. We did reach out to DHS for details, have not heard back on that. Protesters, though, of course, were upset with these immigration operations, as we've seen in recent months, including Illinois Senator Christina Castro.
I was out there, got some of it, made sure people were safe. People deserve the right to due process here, and here they are disturbing.
I'm sorry. These guys continue to say due process. So someone is in your country illegally. Someone is living in your home. If someone is living in your home, sleeping in your bed, drinking and eating your food, and refuses to leave, all right, due process is you kick them out. If they refuse to leave, you call the police. That's the way it works. All right. So these Democrats essentially are continuing to bank on a losing conversation. They want you to believe that these illegal immigrants deserve to be in the United States. No one deserves to come into your country if they weren't born in your country, and are citizens of your country. Okay. All right. So let's jump into the chat. All right. I have, let's see. All right. Canary King. Fentanyl comes in from two main sources, Mexico and China. A canoe or a fishing boat is a distraction. Let's just say this, all right? The people who know stuff that we don't know tell us that since the border was closed, it's coming, the last port of entry for these drugs is through Venezuela and through the ocean. Okay, so they know something we don't know, and we should simply listen to them. Who knows? In 5 years or in 10 years, I hope not, but if in 10 years we hear, okay, all this was a complete distraction, there was no fentanyl in those boats. Okay, remember the weapons of mass destruction conversation with Iraq. Okay, if we hear later that all of this was all a lie, at least they're not putting boots on the ground in Venezuela. It doesn't look like they're doing anything. There was a time when last weekend, there were suspicions that President Trump was going to have airstrikes in Venezuela, but nothing happened. Okay, nothing happened. So I don't think he's willing to engage in international conflicts where he is prosecuting a war against a sovereign country. I don't think he's planning on doing anything like that. Now, that's just me. Okay. Many people want us to believe that he's planning to do that. They want us to think that that's where he's going with all of this. So what we'll do is we're going to keep watching. Time is our friend. Okay, time is our friend. We can only work based on what people tell us and the track record that they've had. And so far, what President Trump has said and his track record are more favorable to his position than what we've seen the Democrats do over the last 20 years. All right, that's my sentiment. Okay, let me know what you think in the chat. Now, remember, you can subscribe, like, and share this video. If you like the easygoing, take on the news and the conversations that I have with you guys in the chat, consider subscribing if you haven't. Hit the bell icon. There's a bell, there's an icon that looks like a bell, okay, where you subscribe. It allows YouTube let you know whenever I go live or post fresh content. And if you could, hit the thumbs up button, okay, to like the video. What that does is it lets YouTube know that you like the video so much that you want other people who might like the content like you do to be told about the video. That's essentially how that works. So please consider doing that to help us out. Now, I always talk about sending a comment in the chat because the premise of the show is we do commentary on the news, but we have conversations in the chat where we essentially break things down. So it's not just me talking at you, all right, because I don't know everything. All right, I depend on these conversations to round out everything because it's not just about what I know, but like, what do I know? Okay, I basically know what I read on the internet and conversations that I have with you guys. So I am honest enough to say I need you guys to kind of flesh out some of these stories and tell us what exactly is going on. All right. So let us know what you think. Let us know what you think in the chat. Okay. I was just distracted by something I saw in the chat. Now, sometimes I get spam in the chat, right? And I don't show everything in the chat, and I have to read it to be sure that this is someone having a conversation based on the story that we're talking about, but this was spam. Okay, so I had to pause to make sure. So I do read everything in the chat. Now we have some comments that were posted on certain live streams that we had, previous live streams. So we're going to be responding to those comments. Now, while you're watching, let me know in the chat your thoughts. Okay, I'm still going to be monitoring the chat, and I'm going to be listening for your input on the stories. Now, it could be stories based on what we discussed today, or it could be stories based on the comments that we're going to be reading and responding to, or it could be something else that you have, on your mind and you want to just share it. Okay, so I'm open to having conversations with you, right? All right, so let's jump into the comment section. All right, here we have Cosmic Connections 968. Responding or leaving a chat on the last live stream where Tim Walz had a meltdown over Trump's comments, calling him a retard. All right. Standing next to this dirtbag is very nasty. Democrat Representative Nevada Dina Titus. She has been on my radar for about 12 years. She's a master manipulator. Okay. That is the person standing beside Tim Walz, I assume. Okay, that's interesting. Cosmic Connections also says, and in my opinion, is the mastermind behind McCarran Airport to be changed to Harry Reid International Airport, as well as getting massive kickbacks on a new ATC control tower built at Harry Reid International Airport. Okay. Now he's giving some details on stuff happening specifically with this individual. Again, like he's talking about Democrat corruption, like corruption in the Democrat Party. Now, does it mean that there's no corruption happening in the Republican Party? No. All right. I would be the last person to say that there's no corruption happening anywhere around the Republican Party. Okay, but here he's highlighting this individual. Also, in my opinion, believe she has had many backdoor real estate dealings involving kickbacks as well. She hates Trump and voted to impeach him on all occasions. Okay, thanks, Cosmic Connections. And again, Cosmic Connections, lots of comments. Okay, now while I'm reading these comments and reacting to the comments, okay, you can still put your thoughts in the chat. All right, you can still put your thoughts in the chat and let me know what you think. Okay. She, in my opinion, was instrumental in the closing of private business during COVID and received orders directly from Nancy Pelosi, as well as controlling the weak, stupid governor Democrat George Sisolak. Okay. Democrats have a bad reputation for being authoritarian while they call President Trump authoritarian. Haven't you noticed? Well, I noticed it, so let me know what you think. Open Forum 1 says, I'm not retarded, I'm eccentric, referring to Tim Walz. Okay, I'm not retarded, I'm eccentric. Interesting. Terry Gleason gives a belly laugh and emojis. Look, that video, that live stream was hilarious. Okay, so if you missed it, you can go back and watch that live stream. You know, just type Tim Walz meltdown while you're on my channel, and then you'll find it. Deborah Wright says it's okay to laugh out loud. He is stupid. Most people call him Tampon Tim. Yeah, I know the nickname that President Trump gave him. Okay. John Jenkins says Mark Kelly has a twin brother that is the real astronaut. Mark doesn't go into space. He is the control subject that they compare to his brother who actually goes to space. Okay. John Jenkins, nice one. Now, guys, what do you think of, let me know what you think of these comments in the chat, okay? We are engaging. I already told everyone who left a comment in the chat that we were going to be responding to their comments during these live streams. So please let them know what you think of their comments. Okay, leave a laugh emoji, leave a thumbs up emoji, leave a clap emoji, something to let them know that you appreciate what they're saying. Tom Lambert says tampon baby. Look, people are just piling on they're piling on Tim Walz. Bruno Ramos says, this man is a horrible parasite and liar. All right. Do you agree with Bruno Ramos? You know, I try to not use harsh terms or tones on people, especially people I've never met. But whenever you see, you know, the Bible tells us by their fruit, you will know them, the things they say and the things they do. So when a governor like Tim Walz decides that the best thing for children in an educational setting isn't books on science and math, isn't support to make sure that they're acing their SATs, it is to put tampons in boys' bathrooms. All right, that tells me everything I need to know about the governor. And he's pushing it and encouraging it and defending it. Okay, by their fruit, you will know them. Jaylin says, okay, well, laugh emoji, same sentiment. People essentially just laughed at him during that live stream. Liz says he knows how it goes. Sure does. He sure does. Okay. He knows how it goes. He sure does. Okay. Wild KI8IX says, I never believed the word this a-hole said. He ran with Kamala. That should tell you everything. Okay. He never believed a word this a-hole said, referring to Tim Walz. Judy Jones says, looks like Tampon Tim has descended into madness. LMAO. Okay. His daughter released a video. Screaming at people who essentially called them retards. And then was sounding quite defensive of her brother, claiming that her brother didn't deserve the attacks from people. They are claiming now that she's claiming that people attacked her brother. I don't know how true that is. All right. I don't know how true that is, but people shouldn't be attacking their families. Okay. People shouldn't be attacking their families. People shouldn't be attacking their relatives. All right. It is politics. The public figure is a target. But you know that is one thing that we see is a double standard. The left doesn't have any boundaries. They don't have boundaries. They will attack everyone connected to you. They will. Anyone that's connected to you, they will attack. They are fair game. But when it starts happening to them, oh, you're the problem for doing that to them. But they are the ones who started it. They started it. Like, look at President Trump. They didn't just focus on prosecuting him and trying to send him to prison. They attacked his kids. They attacked his businesses. Okay? They went after his money. They wanted to destroy everyone connected to him. So I don't think that is right. All right? I don't agree with it when it happens from the left, and I don't agree with it when it happens from the right. Okay, this is a bit graphic. I'm not going to read this out loud, okay? I have to keep this, but you can see it on the screen. Rose Joy says, dang, thankful we dodged that bullet. He wanted to be VP. Look, what do you think it would have looked like for Kamala Harris as president and Tim Walz as vice president? Like, it was a troubling picture for me. I couldn't, like, it's something that was too painful to comprehend. I'll be honest with you. It was so painful to comprehend that I launched a YouTube channel focusing on news and politics. Okay. I think at some point, this channel was more like therapy for me. It was more like, okay, let me just talk about this stuff because I can't hold it in anymore. And I just started talking about news and politics. I used to focus on other things. I just said, okay, I'm going to focus on news and politics. That was the birth of this channel. Rose Joy continues, Mark Kelly is what Squidward would look like with ears. Do you know who Squidward is? All right, I'm sure you're all old enough. Okay, there's a cartoon called SpongeBob SquarePants. All right, and there's a character on that a squid named Squidward. Okay, okay, but you're right. I can see the resemblance. Okay, Mark Ellis says people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Talking to Tim Walz. Tim Walz can dish it, but can't take it. He repeatedly calls Trump and his supporters Nazis, members of the Gestapo. But when it's his turn to take the heat, he just has a complete meltdown. And then he has his family screaming and complaining. But he does the same thing to other people. Okay, so I don't see why you guys don't expect someone else to do it to you. All right, they see how you are when you're attacking people you don't like. So why do you think someone else shouldn't take a shot at you? Okay, and when I say take a shot at you, I mean criticize you and call you the R word. Okay. I don't like calling Tim Walz retardant. It's an insult to retardant people. Okay, nice one, Martin Jackson. Martin Jackson says calling Tim Walz a retard is an insult to retarded people. George 1010th says, when your free world of corruption is collapsing and you come up with Gestapo, then is that a bloody shame and extreme painful? Okay, this is a bit mixed up, but I guess you guys get the sentiment. Okay. Arswu, whatever that means. Oh, sure they are. Look, I promise that I always read the comments. I try to cover the comments and read the comments, and I'm trying to be true to my word. Okay, I say to you guys repeatedly, I will do my best to tell you guys the truth. All right, so this is me doing my best to keep up or to keep my word. Okay, I'm trying to keep my word by reading these comments. Christina says, "Oh, come on, Tim. You are not a nice person who is committing fraud. I agree with our president." Yep, and many people agree with our president. In fact, he won the popular vote by a landslide. He won the electoral vote by a landslide. All of those people agree with President Trump. Andrea Timmers says, "Hey, Walz, you had the National Guard hitting people with paintball guns. People sitting on their own porch during COVID. You're a bully." Yeah. People, you see, the mainstream media wants you to forget these things. Tim Walz sends out the National Guard to harass people sitting on their front porch. I thought they said that COVID could only be spread when someone is standing close to you, less than 6 feet apart. People were sitting on their front porch, and the National Guard was paintballing people to get them back into their homes. They were essentially interning an entire state. Everyone get back into your houses, and then they would shoot paintballs at you. Tim Walz did that. Okay, so he's out there talking about being bullied when he bullied citizens of his own state who only wanted to step out for fresh air, and he had the National Guard shooting paintballs at them. Sharon says, "Did he witness the corpses of our children who died from their drugs? I give you a one-finger salute. Sit your weak A down." Yeah, these people come up and try to gaslight the whole country into believing that keeping fentanyl away from our borders, from landing on the shores of the United States, is a bad thing. They don't experience any of it. Look, they talk about crime. They talk about how authoritarian law enforcement is. But all of the crime happens in different communities. Most of them live in posh hotel rooms in New York. They ride from a limousine to the studio and back. They never experience the insanity that they encourage. And then when you try to point it out, they say that you're being hateful and a bigot. You point out the fact that the people who are committing these crimes are of a certain demographic, and you are attacked for recognizing that. Right? It is shameless and evil too. Because if you're not experiencing it, there are things I don't talk about because I can't relate to those things. I honestly can't relate to those things. But if I do talk about them, it's because I can make a connection, at least somewhat of a connection. And that's essentially why I also rely on the comments and the chat. It rounds out my perceptions. I say something, I say, okay, here's what I think. And then if I have 100% of the people in the chat telling me this perception of yours is wrong. Here's how it is. And 100% of them say the exact same thing. All right, then I have just learned something that I didn't know. It means that maybe my channels of information are wrong. All right, so enough of the gaslighting. All right, so Sharon again says, Obama, you are incompetent and a fool. Oh, I don't think he is. Okay, I don't think he is. I don't think Obama is incompetent or a fool. It's easy to ascribe to these people a degree of either incompetence or stupidity or something. You need to make them look. You need to make them look like buffoons. And I think it's a defense mechanism. I think it's a defense mechanism that most of us have. We don't want to believe that there are people who are essentially wicked and they're trying to destroy us. We want to believe that the people out there believe that they're doing the right thing. We desperately want that to be the case. But if you came to terms with the fact that a lot of these things are orchestrated to destroy you and to take away your freedoms, it changes everything. It changes the narrative. So I would say, I don't think Obama is incompetent. I think he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. It's well strategized. It's been planned out, and they're corralling everyone exactly where they want to be. Where do you think all of these protesters and voters came from? Where do you think all of this came from? All of it is well coordinated. Okay, the reaction of people to Border Patrol has been well carved out, well orchestrated, well guided by the media. Language has been put out there. They've been like, if you've seen those videos where news outlets essentially say the same thing. You play ABC, CNN, every one of them is saying the same thing. They're programming the people who listen to them. It has been well orchestrated. It sounds like a conspiracy theory, but once you start seeing the patterns, how is it that all of these people see the same evidence that you and I see, and we believe that something is wrong, but they believe that everything is perfectly okay? They will tell you that Joe Biden's economy was the best economy ever. Gas was over $5, but it was the best economy ever. There were no eggs. Eggs were expensive. Butter was expensive. Groceries were expensive. Inflation was through the roof, but it was the best economy ever. How is it that you and I can see the same facts along with them, and they have completely different conclusions? It's really simple. They've all been programmed. All right. Now, are you and I being programmed? I don't think so, because I still believe that there are only two genders. Yeah, it's been something that has been known for thousands of years. There are only two genders. Okay, up is still up, down is still down. There are only two genders. Okay? Now, I hope this doesn't mess with my video. I had one of my live streams suppressed, and I don't know why. I had to appeal it. Two of my live streams were suppressed. The last two last two live streams that I did on Friday, and I had to appeal the issue. One of them has been fixed. The other one I'm still waiting. So sometimes when I say these things, it's like, okay, am I going to trigger the AI to start pinning down my videos? All right. So we need to simply tell the truth about who we're dealing with. Okay, these people are not incompetent. They are not stupid people. They are not. Take it from me, or take it from the results that we're seeing. How is it all of this is so well coordinated? All right. ICE shows up. ICE shows up in order to enforce border laws that have been on the books for years that the Democrats put in place. The Democrats were the ones who signed these laws into who signed these things into law, the current border control or immigration laws. The Democrats signed these things into law. The Democrats have said the exact same things that President Trump is saying today about immigration control. Ilhan Omar calls Stephen Miller a Nazi for simply saying that immigrants who come to the United States must integrate. They must learn how to speak the language. Her response is, that's what this statement reminds me of being a Nazi. When you have Joe Biden saying the exact same thing, Hillary Clinton saying the exact same thing, all of the past Democrats have said the exact same thing over the last few years. How is it that suddenly it's racist to say something that is as common sense as, if you come to a new country, you speak the language of the country if you intend to integrate? You don't go to a place like China and insist on changing their culture. They will kick you out. I don't support the policies, the social policies of China. I don't support the communist, tendencies of China. But they still run their country with common sense. You don't come to their country and tell them what to do. People say that that Chinese are very racist. Well, it is their country. They can choose to do things the way they want to do them. It's their country. Okay? I'm not a fan of China, but it is a common sense thing to preserve the identity of your country. It's common sense. If I come to a country, it is not my prerogative to convert that country into the country I came from. All right? In the past, that will be seen as an act of aggression. It is not done. And all of this to just say Obama and the Democrats know exactly what they're doing. Last week, we kept covering the seditious video that was released. And it is so blatant that you almost want to believe that they didn't know what they were doing. But we did find out that they spent months planning the release of this video. They must have spent hours and hours consulting with lawyers about the messaging of the video, about how the script will be arranged so that there will be plausible deniability. These people are smart. They are. Never ascribe to incompetence what you can easily see is being propagated by malice. These people are smart, malicious. They choose their words very carefully. They plan these things out months, in some cases, years in advance. So Sharon, if you eventually watch this lengthy reaction to your comment, it is important. It is important that we all recognize and respect the people that are on the other side of the aisle. All right, they are not going away. Look at these protests and riots all over the United States. For 10 months, we've been seeing protest after protest after protest. We've seen the Democrats very disciplined in their messaging. Very disciplined. Any Democrat who steps out of line is essentially ostracized. They are attacked. Everyone attacks them in unison. They are disciplined in their messaging. They are disciplined in what they want to achieve. Can we say that for people on the conservative side? Can you say that for yourself? Are you consistent? Are you disciplined enough to follow through on what you believe and what you want to see happen in the country? The Democrats are. The leftists are. I talked about Caroline Borchenko, a YouTuber, and she also streams on other platforms, who essentially infiltrated Antifa. And she tells you, look, these people have a plan, they're disciplined, and you know what? They appear to be winning battles. Yes, President Trump won the election. That is not the war. We haven't won the war yet. No, we haven't. That's just one battle. You have local elections. I did ask if it was okay for me to talk about these things, but I will just talk about this. You have local elections. You have elections that actually determine how the local government is run. You have school board elections that determines what kind of curriculum children are reading. I still don't know if this person in purple, in a purple sweater, is a child. But imagine having children. Now, of course, they are radicalizing kids in college, in the university system. But they're also trying to catch them young. They're trying to tell children that Trump is evil and that they should resist him at every turn. Okay, during the No Kings protest, there were children on top of platforms leading chants. Again, like, we shouldn't assume that because you have a Tim Walz who looks essentially like he doesn't know where he is, you don't assume that the whole Democrat Party is that way. They all know what they're doing. They do. You know, I have to point that out because underestimating your enemies is the first way you get your head knocked off in a fight. You don't underestimate your enemies. You treat them with the respect that they deserve. They didn't get there by accident. All right? They didn't get there by accident. I know, I mean, it's fun to laugh at them and point out, but look, guys, I mean, if by now you don't realize that all of this is orchestrated, all of this is planned out. They are not playing games. When they tell you what they're going to do, believe them. We have them threatening service members, people in Trump's cabinet, people who work for within the Trump administration, warning them and saying, we're going to come after all of you when all of this is said and done. And we're like, oh, you know, they're just joking. No, they mean it. Every single person who has been helpful to the Trump administration is going to be attacked. They've done it before. They'll do it again. All right. We're over the hour mark, and I've done my best to cover as many chats as I can. Sharon, I hope you listen, but I also hope that everyone else here, you know, pays attention to what I just said. It is important that we take note of what's going on around us. It's so important. We sometimes struggle to face up to the realities that we're all dealing with. It is a reality that we have people who are dedicated to their messaging. They're dedicated to their plans and their visions. They will not let up until they get what they want. We need to realize that. We need to. All right. Don't stop voting in your local elections, school boards. Don't take your eyes off voting for the judges in your districts. Look, there's so much happening. these people are activated. All right. We saw in Tennessee last week how close the Democrats were in a deep red district, in a deep red state. And they're celebrating because they know what happened. They know that they're getting closer to winning that seat. The next time that they go out there to compete, they know that they are close enough to win. But why is that? And I talked about it the last time. I said the reason why that happened was that the conservatives or the Republicans have gone to bed. The presidency has been won, and we think that that the war is over. That's not true. I felt that way too. I felt that the election of President Trump was a repudiation of mainstream media's messaging, Hollywood, and that they would all behave themselves. I was very wrong. They've doubled down. They figured out other ways. They have decided that they are going to continue to be a thorn in Trump's side for 4 years. They have the funding. They have they have indoctrinated their base to the point where the base is ready to go out on protests every single day of Trump's presidency. They are that motivated. So when you see someone who's that motivated, what does that tell you? What does that demand from you? Are you going to go about voting and doing politics and interpreting your perceptions of the opponents the same way? I know I'm going on and on about this, but I have to. I have to. Because looking at comments like Sharon's, sometimes I have the same sentiment. During this video that she's commenting on, or during this live stream that she's commenting on, yeah, but like we all had a good laugh. I had a belly laugh, and it felt good. But in the end, when Tim Walz's daughter does a video attacking people who essentially called her how they retard, and has done another video to that effect as well. It's like these people really believe that they're on the right side of history. According to them, they're on the right side of history, and anyone who says otherwise is a bigot, is a Nazi, is everything bad with the world. And you know what? They believe it. And I'm sure you've met people like that. You've met people like that who look at a situation, they see it the way they want to see it, and you, seeing it through common sense eyes, are told that they can't believe that you actually believe what you believe. So what's the moral of this entire conversation? The moral is we all need to stay in the fight, no matter what. All right. We all have stuff going on in our lives. We all do. All right. We all do. This afternoon, I told you guys about stuff going on in my life. And this evening, personally, there's other stuff that emerged too going on in my life. And to be honest, it almost felt like, oh, just take a nap this evening. But do you know what? I will brace myself, and then I'll keep doing what I'm doing. Irrespective of what's going on around me, I have to just keep staying in the fight and figure out a way to make everything else work. Because what we're looking at is a big deal. All right, it is a big deal. All right, guys, let me know in the chat what you think of this last segment, responding to the comment section. Okay, Mondays and Fridays tend to be weird. They're like either very, they tend to be very quiet. Okay, but last Friday was different. It was quite boisterous and interesting. Okay, but usually it's slower on Mondays, and I still would like to hear from you. So if you're watching this after the fact, let me know your thoughts in the chat. So in the chat or in the comment section. As you can see, we are reading comments from the comment section. We are engaging and we're responding to your comments in the comment section. So let us know your thoughts about the stories that we've covered, and possibly if you have thoughts on the comments that we've read. Also, we're having a conversation. This last segment of the live stream is something that I feel, if you have thoughts on what I've just said, please let me know in the chat or in the comment section. It is a very blunt or pointed, let me use the term, a monologue, even though it's not a monologue, but I've given you my thoughts. Because I have been a victim of simply assuming that the people that we believe are our opponents aren't very smart. But that is where we miss it. We underestimate them. And when you underestimate a capable opponent, you will lose, and you will lose badly. Okay, you will lose, and you will lose badly. I have to take that into account myself, and I encourage you to consider that, because we need to be vigilant. We need to be vigilant. All right, Sharon, thank you for the chat. All right, now before we go, as always, I would like you to consider. Send your thoughts to the email address on the screen. All right, let me know your thoughts on the email address on the screen. We want to connect with you. I have been thinking about ways of ensuring that I get you notified whenever things are happening. And one very, very important way I might be able to do that is by having a mailing list. So what I'm going to be doing over the next few days is figuring out how to set up a mailing list for everyone who's following this content to be a part of the mailing list. The idea essentially is to protect our connection. During the 4 years of Joe Biden, there was a lot of censorship of conservative voices. There were shadow bans happening where your channel wasn't essentially canceled or terminated, but people couldn't reach you. And I just mentioned today that two of the last videos from the weekend were suppressed. They were suppressed because I still don't have a reason for why they were suppressed. I appealed both of them, and one of them has been released. The second one is still pending. Now, what I suspect is whenever that happens, it affects the performance of the next video or the live stream that you put out there. It's a suspicion. I had 2 back-to-back suppressions. So in order to avoid having that happen regularly, and look, it is scary when you remember what happened during the 4 years of Joe Biden. people were being canceled left and right. Are we always going to have this freedom to speak our minds on these platforms? I don't think so. I think a time will come where channels like mine become targets. And if you're big enough, but now that there's AI, because the channels now are essentially being tracked, the videos are being tracked by Gemini. Once there's anything that identifies you as leaning one way, it is very possible that some real-time suppression will begin to happen. And they don't need to tell you anything. It just happens. Sometimes you might have people lose their channels completely altogether. So I'm going to be working on that. I know that Patricia supported that thought. Patricia supported that thought. So I'm going to be working on that and hopefully make it available to everyone very soon. I do appreciate you guys hanging out in the chat, watching the videos, joining, being so religious, because even now when we say hit the bell icon, how do we know that even when you hit the bell icon, you will be notified? How do we know that? I have people that I follow and I don't get notified when they go live. Not that I don't get notified, but not in the way that I expect to be notified. Usually, I expect that there's something that goes off in my notifications to tell me this person has gone live, but it's just like nothing happens. I think it's troubling. Maybe I'll figure it out. Maybe it's me, but I think it has something to do with the fact that those are conservative channels. I mean, it happens for news content. It happens for content that is entertainment based. It is happening across the board. So here I am simply saying, okay, we're going to be working on that. We're going to be doing that. But in the meantime, I mean, I've just been talking to you guys, just to kind of let you guys know what's going on, because we need to keep our eyes open, pay attention. Last week, I found out that that YouTube was essentially tracking video content in real time using AI. And I was like, okay, that explains everything, because I saw things happening. For example, during this, usually what would happen is all you need to do is get your thumbnail and title done, and then that will determine where the video goes. But I have realized that that isn't the case. Many times, whenever you have a certain surge of emotion, for example, if at this point of this video, I started ranting, if I simply started ranting and talking about something, okay, and I was animated and I was really angry about something, the views will begin to spike. I've noticed it, and I was like, what's going on here? This isn't connected to the thumbnail and title. This is connected to real-time, the real-time transcript and the tone of my voice. It happened this afternoon. There was a point in the live stream where I started ranting about something because I got heated up about that story, and the views began to climb. And I was like, I can't, or I can't, but I will not do this. I will not be a puppet of the algorithm. I will not. Because essentially, YouTube is possibly rewarding psychotic behavior. And that's what happens with a lot of content creators. They get driven by the algorithm, so they begin to act in counter social. Is that the right word? They essentially become sociopaths. They have to continue to feed the algorithm in order to get views, in order to get paid. And I don't want to be a puppet of the algorithm. So I need you guys to help me out, okay? The handful of you that are watching live right now, and the bunch of you that might watch the live stream all the way to the end. Okay. I want you guys to help me out. All right. We're going to need to get the mailing list ready and done. And then we're going to need you to connect to the mailing list. Connect to it. So that whenever we go live, we send out a notification. All right. I don't trust these platforms. I just want to say it. I don't trust these platforms to do that. I have over 10,900 subscribers. And every time I go live, crickets. So the question will be, is it me? Is it them? Or is it the platform? All right. These days, I'm more inclined to believe it is the platform, because the more we put out common sense takes on the news, common sense conversations around what's going on in the world. All right. If what happened during Biden's 4 years repeats itself, it's very likely that channels like mine will be at risk if we have a presidency like that again. If you enjoy this content so far, again, I keep forgetting to do the call to action to donate to the channel. I talked about donations earlier today. Some of you heard it, and maybe I should start doing it much earlier in the video, but that I don't think it's going to be productive. I have to provide value first before I can ask you to do a donation. So if you've watched all the way to this point and you think that this has been valuable, you enjoyed the video or the content or my views on things, or you just enjoy me speaking, all right, I need your help. All right, I need your help to keep the channel going. I need your help to keep the lights on. All right. I mentioned that I got some news, and it's going to take, I got some news this evening, and essentially the news is that it's going to take a bit longer for me to be able to legally work. All right, here in this country, it's going to take longer. So essentially, I have to get smart about making money with YouTube. All right. I have to be smart about making money with YouTube. Okay. So if you have the means to support what I'm doing, consider leaving a super chat or a super thank if you're watching after the fact. All right. These are modes that YouTube uses to allow you to donate to the channel. If you feel like connecting and becoming a member, the link to the membership is in the description of the video. If you're watching on the backup channel, all right, use the link in the description to join the membership. All right, the backup channel is not monetized, but the main channel is. So when you click the link on the description of the video, if you're on the backup channel, it's going to take you to the main channel, and you're going to join the membership on the main channel. It's a monthly subscription. It helps keep the lights on. I'm going to have to, in the days to come, I'm going to be talking very constantly about donations and support, because I'm being very honest with you. It's going to take longer for me to actually get a 9 to 5. All right. And I did say earlier today that if you enjoy the constant, or let's say the consistency of the live streams, and you like the prospect of the live stream becoming of a higher grade or quality, supporting the channel financially would get us there, quite quickly. And then supporting us with your eyeballs and chat will also do that. At the same time, I also want to say that I'm grateful to you for being here, being supportive. Whenever I go live, look, when I first started live streaming, it was crickets. All right. When my the first live stream where I had someone chat at me was with Canary King. I was doing a live stream, a random live stream, because I happened to be home. It was a holiday and I just happened to be home, and Canary King got into the chat and simply said, "Hey, I like your mic. What's it? What's it?" I think he asked me what the make of my mic was, and I told him, and we started talking. All right, that was the first time anyone ever said anything to me on my live stream. And then today it's like, we have these exchanges. We have tons of comments that we get to read and so on. So I appreciate all of that. So me talking about the need for donations to happen isn't me saying I don't appreciate the support that I get from the views and from the comments. I'm just trying to say this is what's going on. And you guys know what it's like, right? Just imagine yourself willing and able to work, but you just can't. And the only thing that you can do is something that requires the people who watch it to want to donate. And you know what? I'm fine with it. I told my wife tonight, I said to her, it looks like I'm going to have to add live streams on Saturdays and Sundays now. I have to. So I'm going to be announcing, in fact, I am announcing now that I'm adding 2 extra sessions on Friday, on Saturdays and Sundays, 10 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays. I might add an extra one on Saturday afternoon, but I'm going to start with Saturday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, and 9 p.m. Eastern on Sunday as well. So I'm telling you, like, this is as a response to the news I gave earlier. And I want you guys to understand why I'm doing it. And when I begin to panhandle, I'm going to panhandle a lot, guys. I'm going to panhandle. I am going to. What did she think about the weekend? Hold on, let me switch over to. What did she think about the weekend live streams? She understands. Like I said, you have to do what you have to do. All right. She knows I am willing and able to work, but she's working, but my authorization to work, my work permit, is taking a lot longer to sort out. It's taking a lot longer. So we got an update tonight. I got an update tonight. She was standing behind me when it, after, because I got the notification downstairs. I told her, hey, these guys have sent a message. She came up with me, stood behind me while I opened the message, and it was like, it's gonna take longer. So so she understands. She understands, and to be honest, like you just have to do what you have to do. She's very understanding, very tolerant of me and my dreams and my shenanigans. She is the best wife, the only wife, I believe, that I could ever have, that would tolerate my shenanigans. Maybe someday I'll tell you guys the stuff I've put her through. But she has been an amazing wife and an amazing mother. She She is now for me, she is the best. She is the best person. Like I recall something another woman years ago told me. It wasn't a good thing. All right. It wasn't a good thing. And I think that thing stuck in my head. All right. This was an attractive woman that I may have had romantic interests for, but, you know, I already had my reservations about being romantically interested in the lady. She had baggage. She had like tons of baggage. She was very attractive, but had tons of baggage. So I held back any inkling of wanting to have a romantic engagement with that lady. And she says something to me a couple of years after, we had, basically, because there was a period where we were spending time every day doing stuff, like business stuff and so on. So a couple of years later, she made a statement about me in my presence and just basically said something that sent signals to me to say, this woman would never have tolerated the kind of person that I am. I take risks. Sometimes the risks are not reasonable. I put my wife through crazy nonsense because I'm chasing a dream. All right. Now, while I still had my 9-to-5, I told her, look, this crazy YouTube dream of mine is something that I really want to chase. And if you don't give me the permission to, I can't do it. We had that conversation. Kenerikin says, would love to hear it. Is it the story I just told you about the girl or something else? I've lost that connection. So let me know if that's what you said you would love to hear. And then you also said, Kenerikin says, you don't need baggage. Yeah, I don't need baggage. I don't. No man goes out there looking for baggage. But do you know what? Men also come with baggage. So, but there's baggage that comes, from just being a person. But there's baggage that comes with plenty of trauma, bad relationships, horrible choices. Like that kind of baggage is what I'm talking about. So that person said something about me, and I just knew it would have been impossible to be with this person, and try to build a family with this person because she would not have been patient enough with me. My wife has been an amazing woman. I don't tell her enough because I am not a very smart communicator when it comes to my feelings, when it comes to her. And sometimes I get too distracted to tell her how much I love and appreciate her. I'm like a cat chasing a spotlight on the ground. Like I step out to say something nice to my wife, and then my kids run up and something else comes up and I begin to chase that. I mean, it's sad, but that's what tends to happen to me, and I get in trouble for not expressing myself clearly to my wife. Kenerikin says, you dodged a bullet. I would say what one of the people who chatted, was it on Friday or on Thursday? I dodged a nuke. It wasn't just a bullet. I dodged a nuke. The lady, these are good people. I'm not saying that the lady was a bad person. The lady isn't a bad person, but whenever you're dealing with people that have so many layers of issues, sometimes the problem isn't that you can't cope with the issues. The problem is that they can't cope with the way you cope with the issues, and they feel like they need something else, and eventually you're dealing with a divorce. Kenerikin says, okay, it means you're creative. That means my chasing different things. I guess you could call that being creative. I guess you could call that being creative. You know, I want the creativity to pay the bills. Me simply being creative is all well and good as long as it pays the bills. American laugh emojis, dodged a nuke. Yeah. American says, yes, I think Patricia gifted us that phrase. Yes, she did. She did. Dodged a nuke. You know, my wife and I talk with couples. We kind of give advice to young couples that are coming up. And sometimes we talk to older couples separately who are struggling in their marriages. And it's hard out there, guys and ladies. It's hard out there. You know, people run into tough choices, and sometimes it's just too painful to stay married. It's just too painful to stay married. And for my wife, I have made it tough for her, you know, time and time again. You know, this is not something new. I've said it before in my videos and so on. You know, I've had to deal with addictions, and she knew about it. It was a horrible journey to go through, you know, with her knowing all about it and eventually dealing with it. But, you know, there's this thing where someone just she stayed all through that muck and mire, gave me 3 beautiful children, is largely responsible for us moving to Canada. Her drive and her motivation is currently responsible for us remaining here for the meantime, because I'm trying to figure stuff out, you know, with my work permit. And, you know, I deeply, deeply, deeply do appreciate her, you know, for just being an amazing woman. You know, she doesn't watch my live stream, so I'm glazing her in absentia. Addiction, yeah. I dealt with an addiction to pornography for 17 years. You know, some people don't think it's a problem. For me, it was. And I think for a lot of men, it is, because it substitutes real intimacy with fantasy. All right. And I've seen it destroy marriages, almost destroyed mine. Yeah, so that's what I dealt with. That was the addiction I dealt with. 17 years. So it was a miracle that I got loosed from it. It was an absolute miracle. So whenever I deal with people who have that problem, I deal with them with plenty of grace. I have a gentleman who somehow got connected with me a couple of years back. And then he told me about his struggle with pornography. I just gave him some pointers on some of the things that I learned and how it broke off me and everything. And he just sent me a message some weeks ago. He's about to get married. I'm going to keep supporting him and giving him the help and pointers, because some people think that when you get married, it goes away. Since you have an actual physical woman to have sex with, it doesn't just go away, guys. It gets worse, because you realize that the fantasy doesn't exist in your marriage bed. It is a fantasy, and you just have to continue to go back to that fantasy land. It is very destructive. So I will be keeping tabs with the young man. And, you know, sometimes I'm like, okay, do I need to talk to more people about this? I don't know. Canarican says it actually is or can be. It's not well understood. The reason why it's not well understood is because people I've found, this is my conviction. addictions are very spiritual things. And when you try to deal with an addiction as if it is something that is based on willpower, you can will yourself out of an addiction. Guys, 17 years. And I am a very willful person. I am very willful. Extremely willful. My wife doesn't like that about me. Like, if I decide I am doing something, it's going to get done. All right. I may not raise hell or make a lot of noise, but I am very silently willful. But I couldn't do it with simply being willful. I couldn't willfully break it. It was impossible to do. Canarican says, so perhaps we can be a bit more understanding of Trump and his constant shenanigans. I am very understanding of him now. I am. Like, whenever I talk about him and the Stormy Daniels debacle, I don't know if you ever heard me say, if I was a billionaire, I would have done the same thing at some point in my life. I would have. I mean, if I was a billionaire in the midst of that addiction, I possibly would never have been free, because I would rotate every single porn star that I could. I'm just going to say it because that would have happened. And sometimes I'm like, okay, maybe I was kept away from being rich so that I wouldn't destroy myself with that addiction. I honestly think so. All right. So yes, I am very understanding of Trump and his escapade. Very understanding. Yeah. So all of that to say, your support, your donations are well appreciated. I will be doing a lot of panhandling. I'm going to be panhandling. I'm going to be talking about stuff and finding ways of bringing in donations and stuff, just to make sure that I can, support payments for all the stuff that we get to do here. 3 kids, a mortgage, bills. Going to be doing a lot of that. So I'm going to be appealing to you guys to be, to be understanding. All right. This started out as a passion project. Now it's a full-time job. And it has to pay the bills. And now I've told my wife, weekends are back on the menu. I have to do weekend live streams now. And possibly I might need to do 4 weekend live streams as well. So there's more hard work that will be coming. Trump on Howard Stern, on the Howard Stern show, was something else. He was very open about all his adventures. Yeah. And you know what? He knew it would be entertaining. He knew it would be. And people loved it. So that many years later, they still talk about it. Yeah. Thought I heard my youngest talking. He's supposed to be sleeping. Yeah, so we're going to be doing a lot of that. I'm going to be talking about merch. Okay, I do have merch. The problem with all of this is this has to be done in volume, because the merch platform, the YouTube payment system, they all take their pound of flesh. Let's see, okay, the Howard Stern interview was so entertaining. We were glued to the screen. Of course, like, he's taking you into a world that many of us may never experience. And so a lot of people were living vicariously. I say vicariously. Some people say vicariously through Donald Trump and his adventures with very beautiful women. He has been married to very beautiful women, currently married to a supermodel. and is currently the most powerful man on the planet. I guess you guys can hear my youngest crying. My oldest should be able to deal with that. Okay, guys. It's 10 minutes to 11 Eastern, and I want to say I appreciate you guys so much. I have something to get to in 10 minutes. But I've given you guys the updates. We've gone through the news. I've basically taken time to kick back and talk with everyone here. Do you know what? If I'm going to be very honest with you, this is the part of the live stream that I enjoy. It is. This is the part of the live stream that I enjoy. And I hope that I can do this more with the rest of the audience. I'm like, just talk, okay? Just talk and share real conversations, because whenever I go through the news, like I try not to make it performative. I try to make it as carefully presented as possible. And because I do that, because I do that, it tends to put a strain and some expectation on me, like, you have to be on top of every story. You have to give the commentary just right and not go too far left or too far right and everything. It's very stressful. But when I'm talking about stuff like this, it's very different. Thank you so much, guys, for hanging out. Thank you, Canary King, for providing a lot of engagement in the chat. For the rest of you who are watching and have been very shy and don't know what to do about the chat, don't worry. One day, we're going to have you dip your tippy toes into the chat. And once you go chat, you won't go back. See what I did there? Let's see. Canary King is asking me a question. Where are 3 locations you'd like to travel to? I am a homebody. I am boring. I like my home. My wife has been telling me a lot about going cruising, and the thought of it is like, hell no. All right. I don't say hell no. I don't ever say hell no. But imagining myself on a cruise ship in the middle of the ocean, no. I've always had a thing for not being on the ship. I've never been on a ship, even when my dad took us to, we were supposed to tour a Navy ship. That was back in the 80s. My dad took us to do a tour of a Navy ship, but we arrived there later and couldn't do the tour. And even as a little boy, I was like, I don't want to get on that ship. I always had a thing about being on the water. So I did take a boat ride in Dubai when my wife and I went for her medical. So I did that. That was different. Do you ski or snowboard? I don't do anything. Look, I am really boring. I'm trying to get my kids to do stuff like that. Do I ski or snowboard? I don't. I tried to get my kids to do. I arrived in Canada at the age of 46. I'm like, the things that I wanted to be able to do, I've said on this live stream before now that I wanted to be able to get a Harley and ride cross country. If I came to North America in my early 20s, I would have done all of these things. I would have learned how to ski, snowboard. I would have owned a Harley by now. I would have done so many things. But coming in at 46 is like you're so set in your ways that is so. Horseback riding, maybe. We used to have horses on the beaches of Nigeria, so we would rent a ride, but someone would need to be on the horse, sitting behind. Well, we were kids. So horseback riding, maybe. If anyone wants to go somewhere, it's my wife. If anyone wants to go somewhere, it will be my wife. Harley. Yay, you can still do that. I guess I could. But right now, it's more like being the responsible dad. Maybe if I say when my youngest is out of the house, I'm talking another 15 years. Okay, but I could. So maybe something happens and I can afford to splurge on a Harley. All right, in 3 years, maybe. Did I tell you that it was my birthday 2 Saturdays ago? Did I tell you guys? All right, so I just turned 48. I just turned 48. So it's been an interesting swim with dolphins. That's another hell no. 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 I am extremely boring. I don't like being adventurous. I like things that are kind of calibrated to be safe but yet adventurous. That's why I like video games. It was my birthday on the 29th of November. That is my birthday. Thank you, Canary King. I thought I told everybody, or maybe it skipped my mind. Oh, I know what happened. That was the live stream. The last live stream for the week was a Friday. The Friday I came dressed in a shirt. I came in dressed in a shirt, and I explained that I had just walked in from a dinner. I had a dinner with the church where I attend on Sunday evenings. And you know how you're rushing onto the live stream and you forget to tell everyone that the next day is your birthday. That happened to me. And then that weekend went by and I forgot to kind of mention it. It was my birthday on the 29th of November. That is my birthday. So I turned 48. I turned 48. So, yeah. So thank you for the birthday wishes. Yep. I am boring. I calibrate everything. I take risks when it comes to business or ideas. Anything that puts my body at risk, I avoid like the plague. I don't like pain. I don't like bad smells. So whenever someone says we're going into the woods to camp, I'm like, good luck. I don't like bad smells. So I don't like insects. Okay, so like there are things, like there's this litany of things, and my wife looks at me and says, "You're so boring." I said, "Yes, I'm boring. I just don't like these things. I don't. I am boring. Someone asked me, "What do you want for your birthday?" I said, "I want to be left alone so I can take a nap for the whole day." Have you been to the Caribbean? No. I've only been to 2 countries, Dubai, or 2 cities, 2 countries, the UAE and Canada. My family, my wife hasn't traveled. All right. I am the only member of my family who has not been to the United States. All my siblings, everyone, my family, my dad lives in Virginia. Everyone has been to the States. I refused to travel. That is how bad of a case I am. That is how bad of a case I am. All right. I have to do a hard stop here. Canary King, always a blast to hang out with you. Let's do this again tomorrow. Mexico, no. No. I've had people who have been to Mexico. I have people here who have traveled to Mexico for their birthdays. And yeah. All right, Canary King, I have to do a hard stop. Quebec, no. I'm going to be in town. Okay, Canary King, to be continued. I have to rush down before it hits 11 p.m. your time, midnight my time. I have to rush. Thank you so much for hanging out. We're going to be continued. Okay, Mexico, Quebec, to be continued. All right. Thank you so much for hanging out, guys. Again, everything, you know everything, right? I love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern. All right. God bless you, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.